Добрий день.
Hello, welcome to everyone who has joined us. I'm Olga Tamanova, Media Center in Ukrinform, 9th year of war and 173rd day from the time of all-in invasion. Here now is the presentation of the survey carried out by the active group of our population at the temporarily occupied territories. Andriy Yeremenko, director of active group, is with us, so tell us more about this survey. Good afternoon, everyone. This survey was suggested because the Russians had started promoting the referenda at the temporarily occupied territories. So in order to understand what's going on and what should we expect, together with the active group center, suggested to carry out such a survey. Now, Andriy Yeremenko, the co-founder of the center, would present the results of the survey. One thing to add from me is this. The results of the survey that we received suggest one and only thing. The Russians have nothing to expect out of any referenda. Nobody would support them. Nobody wants the division inside of Ukraine. Nobody wants Ukrainian territories to become part of some other country. So far, as you all know, Russians have changed the timeline for carrying out such so-called referenda. Actually, the Russian media stopped talking about referenda almost at all at the temporarily occupied territory. So let's hear some more from Andriy about the results of this survey, and then we'll be able to entertain your questions and comment on this survey. Andriy, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. The clicker works. Okay. First of all, this survey. Any surveys at the temporarily occupied territories becomes a challenge indeed. We have claimed that we use a combined methodology, which means that we have been calling people not by landlines but over Viber, Telegram, Signal. With others, we've sent questionnaires, then processed the responses to those questionnaires. So just rest assured that it's an uphill battle to survey the temporarily occupied territory. So far, we received 600 valid responses, meaning that these are people who are actually living there. So 600 valid responses. So the results are these. What emotions do they feel? The biggest emotion is fear. Whatever they say, that we've been liberated and the liberators have finally liberated us. So still the top three feelings are fear, being scared, and hatred. Can you tell us which territories you've been running the survey at? Well, first of all, the south of Ukraine. By and large, in the south, we have no ability to call people at all. joy, only 1%. So all in all, there is about less than 10% of those who are waiting for the Russian world. Have you been involved in meetings? Yeah. The majority responded that they did attend those meetings, pro-Ukrainian meetings and outdoors events. But people are still afraid of sharing this information, which is quite obvious. Which percentage of your residents got unemployed? Almost everyone, which is not unexpected because the business life in the temporarily occupied territories almost stopped. Do you believe that the actions of the Russian Federation are valid and could be explained in the south of Ukraine? 1% said fair, the rest unfair. Even the people who are those 10% who are waiting for the Russian world to come there, they still believe that whatever the Russians are doing to bring the Russian world are unfair. But still, unfortunately, about 10% of people are still waiting for this Russian world. How would you assess the logic behind occupying your territory? Well, 72% believe that it doesn't have any rationale behind any Russian plans to occupy those territories. And again, even if we guarantee that people's responses will be anonymous, still a lot of people decided not to respond to this question because they're afraid. By the way, this survey has been carried out in Russian language, and we have presented ourselves as active group company. But accidentally, it just happened so that there is similar, the company with the same name, Active Group in Russia. And so some people might have mistaken us with them. But still, almost everyone believes that the Russian claims on our territory are unfair, even those who are waiting for the Russian world. Which of the above follows your thinking pattern? 61.5%. These territories are part and parcel of Ukraine. 6.8% should be part of Ukraine, but as a federation, well, victims of propaganda. 6.8%, the same amount, claim that these southern regions of Ukraine should become part of the Russian Federation. So even though they believe that we are a Russian company with the same name, Active Group, still it's only 6.8%. So what would be your security if Russians will occupy your territory? 66.8% believed that the security arrangements will become worse. Nobody expects any good coming from Russia, even those who are waiting for the Russian world, which is not surprising. So they're waiting for something that would bring worse lifestyle for them. Well, that means that's how many people with such lack of logic living here. If Russia controls these lands, will your lifestyle improve? No. 72.7 plus 16.7% claim, which is almost 90%, claim that lifestyle would only deteriorate. And the final question. If Russia decides to carry out a referendum, 81.2% claimed never they would attend such a referendum. And almost 10% claim that we don't know yet. So 10 to 12% of local residents expect for the Russian wall to come there. And we're talking about 10% of those who still stay there. So only 10 to 12% of those who remained are waiting for the Russian wall. But even the majority of those who are waiting for the Russian wall expect that things would only deteriorate. Everybody else decides that referendum should not be carried out, Ukraine should be there. Sometimes some Ukrainian products could be sold in those temporarily occupied territories, and there will be a line waiting to buy them because everybody believes that the Ukrainian products are of a much better quality than coming from Russia. Other stories we heard from people: I've been robbed, my car was stolen, they've robbed my garage. So people claim that they're afraid because they can see that everybody around has been robbed blind by the Russian occupiers. When the Russians need to cross Dnieper, they put the Russian military inside the civilian cars. Also, people claim that they stopped getting Russian passports. So even from the information that we receive indirectly, we can safely claim that no, the local people don't want Russia at all. And even if they try to conduct a referendum, it would fail. But again, that's not my job to talk about the referenda. Valentina Bykova, the head of the analytical project of countering the Russian aggression center. Good afternoon. I'll start with clarification to what Andrew just said. This survey has been conducted at the temporarily occupied territories of Kherson, Zaporizhia, and partially Kharkiv region. So only 3 regions that are temporarily occupied by the Russian military. So let me add here that the Russians will try to create the illusion of free voting, which is being monitored by Alexander Kharachev in Kremlin, a close friend to Kirienko. So-called referenda are being managed by Boris Rapoport, a spin doctor who focuses on problematic election campaigns, which is great because it just indirectly suggests that the occupiers don't expect it to be easy, and it's not going to be easy for sure. There is Sergei Tolmachov working in the field. His official position is vice governor, or so-called vice governor, of course, of annexed Sevastopol. He is deputy to Aksyonov, basically. Sergei Tolmachov is an expert on black PR, as well as on using administrative resources in running election campaigns. Thus, we can clearly see that the Kremlin is using the personnel that clearly suggests that it's not going to be a free election at all. But that's just an indirect support of what we knew before that. So both Tolmachov and other spin doctors in their numerous interviews in Russian mass media try to create such an information background which would allegedly claim that the population of the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine could wait for nothing else in their life but the referendum to happen. The occupiers do this without any finesse. Nobody has any illusions that that's going to be a free expression of people's will. Why am I claiming this? This whole referendum campaign is being run under the slogan, "Together with Russia." They conducted fora under this motto in Melitopol, Kherson, I'm not sure about Kharkiv region. So that's the motto that they use to run propaganda in the temporarily occupied regions. So it's not that the population defines the future, because reference about the future is choose between this or that. But here, all they claim is together with Russia and nothing else. Let me quote from the conclusions of the forum conducted in occupied Melitopol. Sorry for quoting in Russian. We, the participants of the forum together with Russia, the people of Zaporizhia region, various social strata and professional unions claim that we tie our future and the future of our land with Russia. Well, first of all, look at what they say. People of Zaporizhia region. So for 80 years we heard that there's some mythical people of Donbass region existing, even though they have no language or national dress or something that would identify them as a separate people. Now, all of a sudden they have a separate so-called people of Zaporizhia region. Apparently there will be separate people of Kherson region and separate people of Kharkiv region, right? So, based on pro-Kremlin polls, this becomes one of the tools of the Russian propaganda, which is called Big Wagon, joining to the majority. So when people claim that 90% of people dream about joining Russia, or we are just supporting the people's will, and then local residents think to themselves, oh well, 90%, well, fine, let me vote for this as well. So that's just way of brainwashing and programming people, especially those who still doubt what might be the right decision. From 2014, we can clearly identify the anti-Russian opposition in the temporarily occupied territories. And that's what's happening now in 2022 in Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Kharkiv region. Words on pavements, Kherson or Kharkiv or Zaporizhia is Ukraine. So that's basically what people feel in those regions. Now the Q&A session. Colleagues, your questions? Please use the mic. Ukrinform. Any breakdown by age or territory? Like you said, 10% pro-Russian, but it's on the average. In one region it might be only 3% and the other 20%. Who knows? And the second question is education sphere. It would be curious to know how many people there in the temporarily occupied territories are ready to send their kids to go to schools with Russian teachers coming there. So how many of them would be ready to send their kids back to Ukraine or with wait for letting their kids to go to Russian schools? Yeah, we did look at those breakdown categories, but when we talk about thousands of respondents, then we can say 1/5 is statistically important category indeed, but 1/5 of 600, which we had here, would be on what, 120. So the error margin would be 10%. It's not our job to share any data with 10% error margin. And any age or territorial breakdown for a survey with the number of respondents less than 1,200 just doesn't make sense. So of course we can easily give you this breakdown, but rest assured that the error margin would be close to 10%. Coming up with this questionnaire, we had to restrict ourselves because we're afraid that the respondents would not be able to fill in the full questionnaire. So that was just the first one. The next one hopefully will run at the already liberated territory by the Ukrainian armed forces. Let me add to this. Get closer to the microphone, please. Oh, sorry. So back to a question about the breakdown of our respondents. For the time being, we have no accurate figures as to how many people left the temporarily occupied territories. So the percentage means anything when you have a huge number of respondents, but with only 600 of them, come on, it doesn't matter whether it's 1% or less than 1% of a difference. They just give the general idea, but clearly disallow us to make statistical conclusions. So like Andrew said, not enough respondents to make this happen. On the other hand, well, we are planning to carry out additional surveys after this one, the trial one. So, how could we ask people about school year and education in the temporarily occupied territories if these are war zones with heavy fighting going on there? So, the biggest problem for us there is not whether the school year would be open there, especially when everyone, parents, kids, and principals and teachers of the school recognize that you open the school and the shelling might start. So what would be curious to learn is the position of the teachers at the temporarily occupied territories, and we know that the lion's share of them refuse to attend the education process in pro-Russian schools. What were the biggest challenges while conducting the survey? Well, all in all, it took us 4 days for us to call, to send the questions. Our website contains those dates. But before we did the field survey, we spent 1 week to identify the local coordinators who would be able to hand out those questionnaires, collect the filled ones and pass them back to us, all that. And then it took us most of the time for processing of the received data. Once we identified one and the same person responding 3 times to the same questions with the identical answers. So it took us a couple of days to identify this. But the survey happened within 4 days. So, like you said, 9% of all of your respondents claim that they will be willing to attend so-called referendum. Does it mean that they will go there to vote in favor of the Russian occupiers, or they just said that, oh yeah, we're ready to go there and say Russia go out? Well, like we said, 10 to 20%. These are people who still believe that something good will come out of this whole invasion. %90 of people believe that the Russian claims on land plots are fair. Well, because probably they're also stealing land plots from others. Also, people who are still employed, well, then they say, well, fine with us. But that doesn't mean necessarily that they support the Russian invaders. They just claim that they are okay with the status quo. Let me add to all this. Regardless of how many people of out of our respondents are pro-Ukrainian or pro-Russian, well, we all know that it doesn't matter how many people come to referenda. If Kremlin decides to run the referenda, they know exactly what would be the outcome of them. This Mr. Tolmachov, I mentioned already claimed in the interviews to the Russian mass media, claimed that even if it happens, that's going to be electronic voting. Oh, come on. It's going to be exactly the figure that the Kremlin has already come up with. Secondly, voting at home, not only for limited number of residents like bedridden or physically disabled. Instead, they claim that they'll do it massively. So what's going to happen is that the pro-Russian activists will be visiting the apartments escorted by the armed Russian occupiers. Well, with a gun pointed at you, how would you vote? Next, they claim that the referendum will be carrying out in 7 days' time. Well, come on, 1 week? Well, 60, 70, 80, or even 90%, well, 106% most likely. Thank you for this survey. Thank you for being with us and sharing it with us. Once again, I would like to remind you that these were representatives of International Center of Countering the Russian Aggression. I am grateful to you, colleagues. Let me remind you that our next briefing will happen at 1 p.m. Stay with us. We're going to be discussing the situation in the south of Ukraine. And one brief comment. The results will be published in a number of languages. At Andrew's website, you can get those figures in English, German. No. It's going to be available in German in an hour's time. Thanks a lot. That's active group website, right? Yeah, right. So check out on the results there. Stay with us.